Ladies and gentlemen, coming soon, a podcast you've all been waiting for. The movie podcast to end all movie podcasts. A podcast that discusses and critiques the best of the best and the worst of the worst movies playing at a theater near you. With a host whose opinions have been deemed as fact by your favorite fact checkers. And that's a fact. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the movie maestro, the tyrant of theater, the gumshoe of review, the man that makes theater employees and Hollywood execs shiver by his mere presence. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge, the jury, the sultan of cinema, Justin Henson. Welcome to the Movie Wire.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We've got a big show this week with 3 brand new reviews that are all playing in theaters right now. This week on the show, True Love Never Dies, but this movie should. In the remake to the 1994 film comes The Crow. It's just a little cover-up in the new thriller, SkinCare. Then finally, are you having a good time in Zoe Kravitz writing and directing debut in Blink Twice? We've got a big show this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows to watch, a roar and a burst of flame. The Movie Wire podcast. With just the meat people like me. Podcast for hot and trending movies. The Wire.
And here we go.
Soulmates Eric and Shelley are brutally murdered. Given the chance to save the love of his life, Eric must sacrifice himself and traverse the worlds of the living and the dead, seeking revenge. In this remake to the 1994 film comes The Crow.
What's the first thing you liked about me?
I thought that you were quite brilliantly broken.
You feel like my person?
You feel like my person.
What's the worst thing you've ever done?
I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
Eric! Shelley! Shelley! Please don't do that!
When someone dies,
a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead.
but sometimes something so bad happens that the soul cannot rest. Until you put the wrong things right.
You were given the power of a god. But you're running out of time to save her. I'm gonna kill them. Every single one of them.
And killed you?
Yeah, you did.
We have a problem. He came for us.
First impulse. Anger.
It's not anger. It's love.
Look at what you've become. You know that love promises only pain. You have no idea what hell awaits you. No, I do.
How many people have you loved?
I'll never be alone.
Now, so far, this has been the year of reboots, sequels, requels, and ideas that just seem to be overly recycled. And I have said it time and time again on this show, in contrary to some of my peers, I don't mind a reboot, even though a lot of reboots fail 99% of the time compared to the original material. Whether that's subconsciously we know that the first time telling of a story can never be topped from the first viewing, or the new vision is too close to the original vision without uniqueness, or just plain and simple of both. Or studios are just too scared to travel too far off course in fear of the loss of money. Or it could be all of the above. I don't mind seeing a different vision, even if that means I'm cherry picking things that I liked out of the remade version without really liking the film holistically. But here is where I morally draw the line, as it should be an unwritten rule in Hollywood. If an actor or actress dies while filming, especially with a performance as good as our original Crow, Brandon Lee, that's where the art should stay with the original talent. To me, it's a disrespect to our original Crow, Brandon Lee, to have Hollywood now look at their watches and say, okay, we're past the it's too soon stage. Now push out a film to try and have it relate to a new generation of film goers. Now, The Crow did gain 3 additional sequels: 1996's Crow's City of Angels, 2000's Crow Salvation, and 2005's The Crow Wicked Prayer, which all failed in comparison, but Salvation was at least watchable. Sequels to me are a little bit different, since we see sequels naturally already replace talent, especially if they skip the theater. But there is a certain moral frustration when I was walking into The Crow, mainly because I think it's just disrespectful, especially when there are so many that have never watched the original, to have a respect for it. And this attempt to be more current with a new generation, again, I say attempt, especially when there's so many that have never watched the original Crow, to have a certain respect for it. And this reboot attempts to be more current with new generations, and again, I say attempt to be. This reboot could be one of those that becomes the norm in time because it's more current, and then it leaves a chance for the original not to be seen. I deeply hope this won't be the case, but I will give this film the same standards as I do with any other film or reboot, with the understanding that there are some that got involved into this project, even if it's just a couple that took the job to create a new Crow remake, whether that's out of love for the original or out of respect of the original, on or off screen. Some of these talents that we have involved in this project do have a love of film, and they have a love for what they do, or they might have a love for this film. This go around, we have Eric, our new Crow, played by Bill Skarsgård, who I actually really do find to be a great talent. He is one of those reasons where I felt this movie may have had some hope to it. Eric finds himself in an institution where he meets Shelley, played by FKA Twigs, who also gets institutionalized while running from a crime syndicate led by Vincent Rogue, played by Danny Houston, who made a deal with the devil to send innocent souls to hell in exchange for eternal life. Shelley and Eric fall in love and end up escaping the institution, where the two eventually are murdered by Rogue's crime family. Eric wakes up in the afterlife to the character of Kronos, played by Sam Boagia, who explains that in order to save Shelley, he must kill Rogue in exchange to get Shelley back, but at a cost. Now, after about an hour into The Crow, it started to become clear that this narrative structure is a tangled mess. The film attempts to modernize and revigorate the story of Eric Draven, the wrong musician brought back to life by a mystical crow to exact revenge on those who wronged him. Now, this version doesn't follow the exact formula to a T. However, instead of a coherent storyline, viewers are subjected to a disjointed series of events that seem lack to both purpose and emotional stakes. We can tell based on the individual performances that there is a good chemistry to be had between Skarsgård and FKA Twigs, but the dialogue is written so forced it's hard to make a connection to the love they share, which is a complete letdown because the other thing that gave me hope in this film is that The Crow was written by King Richard and Creed 3 writer Zach Balin, but at the same time he also wrote the god-awful Bob Marley One Love. Alongside him is new writer William Joseph Schneider. Both the chemistry between Shelley and Eric throughout the movie are average. It's just kind of fine. But the problem lays with the material that lacks any emotional element of relatability of love, and connection. This chemistry without the proper dialogue comes across as an arranged marriage, where we just get kind of awkward first meetings every time Shelley and Eric are on screen. Now, when it comes to our Crow character or Eric character, which follows the same framework as the original, it feels like a half-hearted echo rather than a fresh reimaging. And again, the Crow was originally played by Brandon Lee, now again by Skarsgård, attempts elements of pain, but at times feels more reserved, as if the idea of death was more traumatic, more poignant than the entire point of vengeance, which is the point of the movie, is redemption of love. There is no real sense of pain or vengeance in Skarsgård's performance, which is crucial for a character whose quest for justice is driven by the murder of his love interest. The emotional depth that was so compelling in the 1994 version is entirely missing here, replaced instead by a hollow, monotone delivery that does nothing to engage the audience. And our filmmakers make us sit through this bland dialogue, this bland pacing for a majority of the movie. A stale written piece of attempted chemistry, and Skarsgård forgetting the main reason for vengeance, which is the whole point of The Crow, which is love. And it goes into a formulaic structure of the idea of vengeance without substance. You add that to the main element that most will compare the original to, which is the gothic feel and tone that was supported with a heavy, incredible soundtrack to take us on a place of unease yet familiar comfort. But instead, this vision takes us to the overwhelming feel of there's something seriously missing. And that feeling of 2024's Crow haunts this movie for the entire runtime. The film was directed by Rupert Sanders from 2012's Snow White and the Huntsman and 2017's Ghost in the Shell. Sanders really has shown to deliver with the assumption that ideas from the original source material will deliver itself, with adding nothing of vision for himself, especially with taking absolutely no risk. Even when it comes to tone and atmosphere here, it lacks utter imagination, especially when it comes to the vision of the afterlife, where it looks like Sanders just picked a random street on a foggy day. Now, visually, in some scenes, I can see the film attempts to pay homage to the original's iconic imagery, but at the same time, Rupert Sanders, I can see not wanting to come too close to the visuals of the first film to call it his own. But again, we don't have any indication of Sanders' visual creativity to make it feel like he is even attempting to stand on his own. The surreal quality that made 1994's film so visually striking is the biggest thing that makes this version so bland. Instead of creating a haunting, immersive world, Sanders' The Crow looks like a low-budget knockoff, failing to evoke the dark supernatural ambience that is so essential to this story. The balance of love, vengeance, and a haunting afterlife. This movie doesn't care about balance, so the whole thing is like eating a box of dry shredded wheat. Now, I mentioned the film's soundtrack. The film's soundtrack, another crucial element of the original, is also a major letdown. Where the original film featured an iconic mix of rock, heavy metal, alternative tracks that perfectly complemented its dark tone. This version opts for a forgettable selection of generic tracks that completely failed to leave any lasting impression. The music, rather than enhancing the film's atmosphere, only serves to highlight its lack of originality. It merely sings a lullaby, outputting any emotion to coincide with our characters. This is needed even more so than the original film because the emotion is severely lacking here. Now, we're starting to see a theme here. My biggest problem with 2024's The Crow suffers from a lack of thematic emotional depth. The original film explored themes of loss, love, and the quest for justice with poetic sensibility that gave its story weight, depth, and meaning. This complete generic dumpster is superficial, missing the chance to explore the emotional complexities of Eric's journey. The result is a film that feels like it's going through the motions without truly engaging with the themes that made the original so compelling. Fans of the original film will likely find little to redeem in this new version, and newcomers to the story will be left in generic territory. And this is where a movie like this really does piss me off. With a movie as good as the original with a brilliant performance from Brandon Lee, making a generic reboot puts the original in danger of not being seen. If viewers have a bad taste in their mouth after watching this film first, they may not bother with the original fantastic version. In an era when reboots are often met with skepticism, The Crow is a prime example that some beloved movies are best left untouched, especially when a great talent but lost their life in the process of bringing it to the big screen. But like I said, I am going to be fair with this rating. And if I'm going to be fair, I'm going to look at this in two different ways. I'm going to give this 2 ratings. The first rating I'm going to give it if I were to compare it to the original. For those that love the original, would they love this movie? The answer is a big fat no, with 1 star. The second review is where I'm going to be fair. There are elements here that I did like. Performances, even though with weak dialogue, including Skarsgård and Danny Houston, but again, horrible writing. But I can see through the writing to still see some good performances. If I didn't compare it to the original and this movie came out today with no history, it's a generic safe with some elements I can cherry pick out of it. So I would give it 2 stars. So with that said, for my final rating, let's just kind of meet in the middle. I'm giving The Crow 1.5 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before I get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Nicolas Cage plays a serial killer in this haunting film that reminds us once again of how good of an actor Nicolas Cage is in Longlegs, which received 3 stars. Everything he draws is about to get real in Harold and the Purple Crayon that will make you wish you had an eraser, receiving 1 star. Every Murder Lives On in Oddity, which scared the surprise out of me, receiving 3.5 stars. Make room for new emotions in the Disney Pixar sequel, Inside Out 2, which was as organized as a teenager, but maybe that was the intent, receiving 3 stars. If you feel it, chase it. And I did feel it, but I had no urge to chase it in this sequel, reboot, whatever Hollywood wants to call it, for a quick cash grab in Twisters, which received 2.5 stars. 4 friends, 1 wedding, lots of baggage, and one of the worst movies of the year is The Fabulous 4, which received no stars. He's trying to make history, she's trying to sell history in a movie that made me smile during a conspiracy story versus rolling my eyes and Fly Me to the Moon, which received 3 stars. This daddy's a baddie, and things just got a little bit more despicable, including this movie, which was more despicable than Despicable Me, receiving 1.5 stars. Hear how it all began in A Quiet Place Day 1 that was louder than the last and quieter on substance, receiving 2 stars. And finally, revenge has never been sweeter, and one of the biggest surprises of the year in this heartwarming and entertaining comedy, Thelma, which received 3.5 stars. You can listen to those reviews of my previous episodes, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow, subscribe, and please don't forget to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before we get into the last set of reviews, there is a podcast that I have dearly missed in his short absence, but now he's back in a brand new season with brand new movies and brand new guests. And that's with my cinema partner in crime on our crossover show, Back to the Balcony, Antonio over the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast. His new season is now live. Make sure to listen, subscribe, and review. But let's hear from Antonio from the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast now.
The Cultworthy Podcast. Join me, Antonio Palacios, each week as I guide you through a never-ending sea of obscure cinema and cult-worthy gems that deserve a rediscovery. Find me on all listening platforms and at thecultworthy.com. The Cultworthy Podcast. Join us.
When tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality in Zoe Kravitz's directorial and writing debut in Blink Twice.
So, everybody's dead. How about we start at the beginning?
Okay, here we go. Jess, Frida, this is my childhood buddy, Cody. Vic, my left and right hand man.
Perfect.
Tom.
Hi. All right, who did this?
This is Frida, Sarah, Frida.
Cute nails. Thank you.
This is our resident wonder boy, Heather, Camilla. Later. What's up, man? I don't know who that is.
We're going to my island for a few days.
Do you guys want to come?
This is crazy. Did we just jet off to a billionaire's island with a bunch of strangers?
No, he's not a stranger. He's Slater King.
Everybody say, making memories! Making memories!
You having a good time?
We're having a great time. We're drinking champagne, and we're eating amazing food. So do you think the human sacrifice is before or after dinner? The legendary parties of Slater King. Not what I thought it was gonna be.
We still have fun. It's just a little different now.
What do you mean? Phones, please. Wait, for real?
You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
I'm having a great time here. But I also have this feeling that I'm like, not.
Where's my knife? Who has my knife?
Oh, dude, your eye.
What? Oh, no, I know, right?
There's something weird going on here.
Everybody's smiling and laughing like 1960s flight attendants. Like, are you having a good time? I'm like, yeah, I'm having a great time. Can't you feel it? There's something wrong with this place. Where's Jess?
Who's Jess?
My friend that was in the room next to mine. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! I feel like we're forgetting like a lot of stuff. Okay, but like, how? Something's making us forget.
Uh-oh.
We need to know what's really going on.
Please, why is I'm in danger?
Well, maybe not. Let's not answer that one, right?
Zoe Kravitz in her directorial and writing debut, and what a surprise this was. It's not out of the norm for me to take a new writer or director and have me cherry pick some elements out of a film. But here, with Blink Twice, Kravitz had so many things going as a director, my notepad was smoking. Kravitz comes out of the gate showing us where her strengths lie, but also showing us where her vulnerabilities are when it comes to new directors and risk-taking, especially when it comes to messaging and a narrative of a story. Blink Twice mixes new, current, and nostalgic talent, including our main character Naomi Ackie from the more recent role of Whitney Houston and What's Love Got to Do With It. Ackie plays Frida, who attends a gala and gets starstruck by meeting billionaire Slater King, played by Channing Tatum, who invites her and her friend Jess, played by Aaliyah Shawkat, to a private island full of talent that will appease the young and the old. The old including Christian Slater, who plays Vic, another rich attendee, and Gina Davis, who plays Stacy, Slater's assistant. This is a smart move by casting director Carmen Cuba, who appeases multiple audiences in a drastic way to deliver something new, something current, and something old, and to see some talent we haven't seen in a while reappear. It also plays it smart with our nostalgic talents to give us something new, to not treat our nostalgic characters as nostalgic, but put them in situations that we haven't seen them before, especially together. Now, when it comes to the storytelling, Kravitz, alongside new writer E.T. Feigebaum, sets up what seems to be another thriller set in seclusion, with means for the victim to discover a mystery to escape. We have seen this trope time and time again, but the style that Kravitz makes is almost like a more simplistic, more relaxed tone that we saw from 2022's The Menu. It uses a basic concept, but it turns on the lights, where instead of intimate shots with darkness, we are subject to zoomed out shots with that of brightness and color themes, of reds of structure, whites of relaxed uniform comfort, and blues of pool waves of hope. Kravitz goes all in on color themes to represent her storytelling narrative. It's simplistic, but it's sublime. She makes even the most elementary shots relevant, to almost hypnotize the viewer. There is a shot that will be noticeable and it will stay with viewers throughout the runtime, in which we see our female guests exit their red-painted guest houses in an outward fully panned shot, all wearing the same uniformed white clothes in energy and fun. But the viewer knows, based on the tone, shot, and coloring, this means something. I love these shots where it tells a story or hints, all without dialogue. It keeps the viewer on its toes to wonder meaning and what's to happen next. All in the while, Kravitz does attempt a deeper meaning, which leads to one of the flaws of Blink Twice, which is the ability to handle complex emotions with authenticity. Kravitz's direction, though well done in the mystery thriller aspect, by the time we get to the climax, it should have had a bigger impact emotionally to bring some discomfort. Instead, it just turns into a cliche climax of violence that may have viewers say it's justified, and that may be so. But there is a deeper discovery to be had with our characters that Kravitz never truly explores. The characters' emotional journeys are depicted with Superman syndrome, where we have all these characters that are just average, but then rip open their metaphorical jacket to show their Superman logo, right when the story requires it. Kravitz, I could tell, wanted to lead with the theme of survival in a social setting and showing the internal mental strength of the will to survive in these situations. But this doesn't have enough build or even situations to demonstrate this before we jump into the climax. We are presented with the introduction to the characters with some mystery, some reveal, and then we jump right into the climax, where between the second and third act feels like Kravitz wanted to make two separate movies, but settle for a thriller with violence versus the movie that felt like it was going to lead to, which is a thriller with substance. But you know what? I could be wrong. Maybe with everything that Kravitz did right from the first act, I just had my hopes up of her creating something new and fresh. If the main intent is to create a stylish thriller, then mission accomplished. But that still doesn't shake my feelings that this could have meant a lot more. And if I were to look at this as just another mystery thriller, then Kravitz does create a lot more curiosity than she does thrills. But the smart thing with Blink Twice is when the film does want to surround itself around the curiosity or the mystery aspect, that in itself left a lingering thrill in the back of my mind while Kravitz takes us through the island of paradise with no escape. The cinematography done by Adam Newport-Berra does take us to an environment that is properly utilized, while Kravitz have the characters work the screen. We are taken to this island of pure sunshine and brightness. This was another impressive element with Kravitz to still feel a sense of danger while we're in this utopian paradise. We have seen this from so many movies of the past, even the upcoming film Speak No Evil, where the environment is used where it actually takes away from the thrill or it's not utilized appropriately to be almost its own character. Here, in Blink Twice, the environment is very cleverly used, especially the way our characters move around the island. And you put that up against Kravitz's symbolic visuals and you get a thrilling escape, just not an escape away from some cliches that we see in the film. Zoe Kravitz, Blink Twice is a remarkable debut that showcases her talent as both a director with an eye to tell a story through visuals and characters. Yet, the narrative of the storytelling can be lost in translation, but yet it counteracts with strong and entertaining performances. Kravitz's ability to weave together the intrigue with visual depth and direction results in a film that is engaging and entertaining. With that, at the same time, loses potential substance over awe and entertainment. And with that, you know what? I really did like Blink Twice at an entertainment level, but I was disappointed at the ending result of messaging that resulted in something we have seen many times before that could have been so much more, but it's still an effective and engulfing watch. I'm giving Blink Twice 3 stars.
Hey, it's Jordan. Today can be whatever you want it to be.
Famed esthetician Hope Goldman's skincare business faces sabotage when rival Angel Figuera opens a boutique across the street. Aided by friend Jordan, Hope seeks to uncover who's trying to ruin her reputation in skincare.
Joining us in the studio today is the skincare queen, Hope Goldman. You really are the American dream.
Reputation is everything in this business.
Your career is legendary, and your story is inspiring as hell.
Beauty is a cutthroat business.
Business is a cutthroat business.
I hope you don't think I'm intruding on your territory.
Why would you lease to another facialist?
Maybe you should worry more about why you told me you would pay the rent on time.
Things are about to blow up.
Were you drunk last night?
Excuse me?
The email.
What email? I'm reaching out to all my clients and my friends to ask for help. I am badly in debt, potentially losing my business. All I want is a hard deal. I was hacked! It doesn't even sound like me. It's not me, Marie. No. Someone is trying to destroy me.
People love a scandal. The internet is full of sickos. If I were you, I'd make a list of my enemies. Who out there might want to hurt you?
Any idea who might have access to pictures of your face?
I'm a public figure.
She's in magazines, dude. It's like...
What do I do?
Take control of your narrative. Sometimes you have to start a fire to put it out.
I don't think this is life-threatening.
It's not your life. It's my life, and I feel very threatened. I don't think it's about the skin you start out with. I think it's about what are you willing to do to get to where you want to be.
Now, open and honest, SkinCare I went into thinking this wasn't going to be a movie for me. I wouldn't be the guy that knows anything about makeup, spas, or skincare. And on top of that, it's a premise I have seen over and over again. But to my surprise, I didn't say a good surprise, the title of SkinCare doesn't define the movie with knowledge or need to know knowledge about the skincare industry. And what wasn't a surprise is that SkinCare follows the same damn exact formula for any identity thriller, only disguised instead of a rich Wall Street businessman, big powerful male, it's a rich female in the beauty industry. About the halfway mark, I begin to think, why skincare, esthetician, or beautician, whatever it is, if it's just going to follow the same tropes that we have seen in the past? Why not just have a rich, popular, powerful female? Why are we taking stereotype tropes and putting such a specific label on it, even more so to have it on the title? Especially if our writers during Reagan knew writer Sam Freelock and our writer-director that some might remember in his Hollywood debut in Boy Phantom from the colorful superhero flick from the 90s, The Phantom's Austin Peters. We have these writers and they aren't going to do anything with this occupation except have it defined on who she is. It would have been another story if the filmmakers here spent some time defining why our main character, Hope, played by Elizabeth Banks, is relevant as a skincare entrepreneur. But here, this is how pointless it is, and this is how it lacks any intrigue. Hope, in the beginning of the movie, she's on TV promoting beauty products, and she has this little tiny business in a town center complex. There is nothing that screams high stakes. This makes this character so irrelevant, and they don't use any dialogue to make her interesting or likable. If this is the route our filmmakers and our writers were gonna take, they could have taken the cashier of a donut shop and would have had the same effect in the storytelling here. Other than that, the gist of the plot is somebody sends a naughty email out to all of Hope's clients, impersonating her to ruin her reputation. All in the while, competition moves in next door. So it's a story of whodunit mixed with paranoia with a dash of greed and power. That's it. That's all you need to know. There's nothing more interesting in this movie, and this premise is met with exactly what you would expect. Over-dramatic frustration, predictable outcomes, and characters we don't relate with nor do we like. In comparison to movies like this from the past, at least we are met with a sense of suave, visual sexiness, darkness, higher stakes, along with usually a better score and dialogue with characters we might not like, but they are at least interesting to watch. SkinCare plays like a Lifetime movie where there is really no effort to make this character show enough relevance to really make us care on the outcome. She's not unlikable enough to make me want to follow to see her crumble, and she's not likable enough to have me care about anything she does. So what we're left with is just a lot of overdramatic facial expressions that I feel our writers could have just honestly written in the script. How dare you from our main characters for 90 minutes, and it would have had the same effect. The one big notable miss in this concept, and the biggest frustration, is that our filmmakers could have built a completely different movie from the ground up and make the attempt to tackle the complexities of self-image in the age of social media and raise important questions about the impact of digital age to public figures, the perception, and even lead to building a character with depth of the need to be relevant or successful, or even keep it at surface level and simplistic on how the digital age can affect self-esteem and mental health when trying to be successful. We already have the thriller elements here. It would be hard to throw in a lot of these complexities to really have this movie matter. There is so much here as the movie plays out on what it can do with this concept, but again, it falls into what feels safe and familiar, only without any moral lessons to be had and little thrills of sympathy to be felt. We get all these characters that all seem to want to be relevant. We get a scene where we have Jordan, one of Hope's friends, that we see him recording shirtless in his apartment, and it's some sort of motivational video. And his explanation to why he's doing motivational videos again could have gone further, especially to help support the messaging of what the movie's trying to do. The movie, for its entire runtime, tiptoes about what could have been, showing relevance in a digital world of TikTok, YouTube, and social media. SkinCare does have moments of tension, but every time it delivers a scene of tension, there always seems to be a feeling that it could have gone further. It could have heightened the stakes. By the time the credits rolled, all I could ponder is the fact that these writers are either clueless, lazy, or too old to realize that they are circling a point of messaging, but we can visually see that they don't know how to land it. So we're just left with a higher budget movie that should have gone straight to streaming. Our filmmakers make it apparent that this movie should have gone straight to streaming. They have a lot of elements. I mean, god damn it, Nathan Fillion's already in it, so just shove it to streaming. SkinCare has an attraction and tone to it, but it's an attraction that makes one feel icky and stereotypes compared to movies that we've gotten from the past. We have a female that sells skincare and beauty products that has someone trying to destroy her by utilizing sexual situations. Movies like this from the past may have been blackmail, may have been videos, but here, every single situation except the slashing of one's tires takes the female and makes her a sexual object without needing to be. This movie lost me when the only thing I can think of that's not sexual is slashing one's tire. I mean, it's like a bunch of frat boys wrote this movie, or it's just a trio of men that wrote this movie. Oh wait, they did! I'm giving SkinCare 2 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And if you haven't checked out the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's new show, Back to the Balcony, the link to that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor and make sure you stay for after the credits of a movie to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film and support your local movie theaters.
A verdict has been made on this episode of The Movie Wire by your host, Justin Henson. He thanks you for listening to the show. You can follow Justin on Instagram and Twitter at Movie Wire Show or visit his website, www.themoviewire.com. Oh, and don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we will see you at the movies.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.